at the last bit of the war
Now let me see your war face.
that we're preparing to do in executing a global phase 3 trial. We're currently working with various partners and funders and other sources. I have no doubt that we will be able to articulate the full strategy in the coming weeks.
Hello, welcome back to part 4 of my 5 stocks to buy right now. To recap, stock 1 was software big data AI integrated analytics provider Palantir. Stock 2 was EV sector giant NIO. Stock 3 was online payments fintech giant PaySafe, which now leads us on to stock 4, which is a 40-year-old biotech company that is on the cusp of commercializing their first ever product in the form of their DNA-based COVID-19 vaccine.
INO 4800 has the potential of being our first commercialized vaccine from our very prolific platform. And we look forward to focusing on that and also using this opportunity to really raise up Inovio as a pre-commercial company to a fully functioning commercial business. So this next 12 months or so are going to be very critical and exciting part of our business development.
I believe a perfect storm is coming. Inovio is currently trading around $7 after gapping down big after the announcement of the DOD funding pullout on the 23rd of April. What is the outlook of Inovio moving forwards? What breadcrumbs were revealed in the earnings call on the 10th of May and the recent Bank of America and RBC healthcare conferences? Let's analyze these and more. Stay tuned. Keep it simple. Full disclosure, I started a position in Inovio stock all the way back in November last year when it was trading around $12. My position had been averaged down to $10, but as you can see now, I am down about 30%. Is now the time to load up for an incoming perfect storm? No more plugging. Let's start drilling. In my last video on Inovio back on the 28th of April, I discussed how the phase 3 funding pullout by the DOD made little to no sense. Since then, Inovio reported the first quarter 2021 earnings. Unlike other stocks, for a biotech stock without a commercialized product, we have to understand that there are fewer things we should be looking at or worried about in terms of their balance sheet. Inovio reported that they have $518.6 million in cash and equivalents, which has increased from $411.6 million from the end of 2020. This means they have some serious cash reserves to continue operations. Clearly, I, like many other Inovio investors and believers, understand that based on the science, Inovio's DNA vaccine is superior to the current emergency use authorized viral vector or mRNA vaccine. So how is Inovio being held back? Where is that money trail? First, let's take a look at UNICEF and the worldwide rollout of the current 14 numbers of EUA emergency use authorized vaccines. We can see that the European Commission has the largest volume of agreements in place for COVID-19 vaccines, with 4.2 billion doses in agreement with various vaccine makers. But check this, 2.4 billion doses are agreed with Pfizer BioNTech. That is a substantial portion of the pie, and we shall come back to take a deeper look into Pfizer. COVAX comes next with a total of 3.8 billion doses in agreements, short for COVID-19 Vaccines Global Access. COVAX is a worldwide initiative directed by the Vaccine Alliance, the Coalition for Epidemic Preparedness Innovation, CEPI, UNICEF, and the WHO, World Health Organization. We can see that COVAX having agreements with 7 vaccine makers, and put this into context, they only have a 40 million dose agreement with Pfizer. Clearly, outside of Europe and the US, cold chain is a huge issue, and that is my theory as to why so little Pfizer BioNTech vaccine has been agreed. Now, COVAX, as mentioned, is directed in part by CEPI, and guess who are one of the funders of INO 4800? Yes, CEPI. Let's now take a look at the US, who have 3.2 billion doses in agreements with 6 vaccine makers, including Pfizer's 700 million doses. Now comes the interesting part. Take a look at all the other countries listed here on. None of them are even close to securing 1 billion doses. And as we move further away from developed countries, it gets more critical, and we should understand there is a dire need for vaccines worldwide.
The market opportunity for INO 4800 is immense. If you look across globally, there's only 5% of the population that's received the vaccine. Even the first dose. So there's a huge unmet medical need globally outside of our country. And there's a great opportunity for a vaccine like INO 4800.
Why are the other vaccines not being bought by other countries, especially in these developing countries? Simple. I think it all comes down to cost and production. Inovio are not the only DNA-based vaccine biotech, but they are the furthest in trials and clearly still are in the best position to commercialize pending a successful global phase 3 trial. INO 4800 overcomes all the issues that I think is stopping the rest of the world from access to COVID-19 vaccines. In the latest RBC Healthcare Conference, Dr. Kim said Inovio are weeks away from announcing news of its global phase 3 INO 4800 trials.
We will be submitting all of our phase 3 plans to various regulatory bodies in the countries that we're planning to go out. And we're looking forward to conducting our trials there and potentially providing our doses to those countries as well. So I expect that we will have additional articulation of our details of our plan in the coming week. So we're very much looking forward to taking our 2 milligram dose into a global phase 3 efficacy trial this summer.
Dr. Kim also confirmed they will be clearing up with the FDA on the Selectra device queries.
In terms of the FDA partial clinical hold on phase 3 for Innovate trial, Aspen, you're absolutely right. The ex-US strategy is not impacted by the current phase 3 partial clinical hold. But still, we plan to open in the US, along with mostly ex-US countries and sites to recruit our phase 3 Innovate global trial. We still plan and are on track to submit all of our submission to the FDA to lift the partial clinical hold if we're successful in the second quarter. Let me reiterate, we're on track to submit, and we're hopeful that we will be able to lift the partial clinical hold in the US portion of our Innovate phase 3 trial.
There is a recent insightful article which talks about the Selectra device that if after reading you will be left further confused as to why the FDA are holding. Not that in my opinion the FDA really matters all that much right now. The best play for INO 4800 in my opinion is to go after the rest of the world. Not that we should or compare apples to apples, but we should always compare competitors for weaknesses or potential in our investments. If we look at Pfizer, we must first look at only their COVID-19 play, BNT162. In the latest earnings results, Pfizer reported a staggering, mind-bending $3.46 billion revenue for their COVID-19 vaccine, and that's in the first quarter 2021 alone, with $2 billion coming from the US and $1.4 billion internationally. We can see that there is just huge money in play here, despite all the issues with adverse side effects, the actual vaccine cold storage requirements, etc, etc. The vaccine is still being pushed heavily. Why is that? Well, follow the money. It is no secret that Pfizer conducts lobbying activities and contributions to political entities within the US. Now, strictly speaking, it all seems legit, but if you ask me, I just don't buy it. How did Pfizer get the fast-track FDA EUA approval so easily? Maybe that's something that can never be answered. But what is clear is that Pfizer CEO Albert Bourla is a highly connected and involved in various organizations that provide political contributions and lobbying activities, something that is not evident in Inovio. Do note that Inovio's market cap is a tiny $1.4 billion right now, and when you compare Pfizer, whose market cap is $217 billion, it is literally David versus Goliath. There are recent developments with other vaccines that we do need to be informed of, such as AstraZeneca, who Norway have just put a stop to. Continued news regarding Moderna and Pfizer side effects are being reported. Is it a matter of time before the real impacts are released?
Compared to other vaccine platforms out there, is highly tolerable, safety is greatly favorable, and we've shown we can generate the antibody and T-cell responses.
I do see a buyout imminent for Inovio by one of these pharma giants. I mean, if you can't beat them, then buy them out, right? The market would kind of be too big for Inovio if their entire pipeline finally gets all the approvals. I also do not see Inovio capable of being able to run the necessary PR, manufacturing, deal making, and commercialization of their vaccines.
I'm just asking you for a little bit of help. Just get me a little bit closer, and I will get you that championship team.
Also, given that Inovio is working closely with Regeneron and AstraZeneca, this to me sounds like a plausible event coming in the near future. Back in January, Inovio released news that they had entered into a partnership with Advaccine in China to bring to market INO 4800. The partnership includes the rights for Advaccine to develop INO 4800, or as Advaccine label it, PGX 9501, including development, manufacture, and commercialization, with upfront payments and ongoing royalties once the vaccine is and can be commercialized within the Greater China region. The Hong Kong Stock Exchange IPO filing in April from Advaccine contains some huge forward-looking statements. Yes, Advaccine are looking to IPO in the Hong Kong Stock Exchange. They estimate 2.8 billion doses of COVID-19 vaccines would be required in China alone. They state they commenced a phase 2 clinical trial in December 2020 and expect to commence a phase 3 clinical trial in the second quarter of 2021, and check this, file a biologics license application or emergency use authorization to the National Medical Products Administration of China, check this, in the second half of 2021. They also state that they will fund the entire clinical studies phases required for commercialization themselves. Advaccine are clearly taking this very seriously, as they go on to state that they fully acquired Suzhou Xiao in 2020, which provides them the full manufacturing capacity required. I do see a huge probability that INO 4800 will be first commercialized in China. With all the factors just discussed, there is, in my opinion, a perfect storm brewing. First, the institutions are buying more and more Inovio stock. BlackRock has added more stock, and they now have 17.5 million shares, up 3.2 million from February's reporting. Overall institutional ownership stands at 46% right now, up 5% from February. That is big, and it doesn't make much sense when you consider the overall net stock price movement is significantly down from February. It's interesting to note that the largest three institutions holding Inovio are the same as Pfizer, in the form of Vanguard, BlackRock and State Street, albeit in slightly different orders, and I don't see them selling their stakes. Net institutional buying of Inovio per quarter since the third quarter of 2020 has been on the positive inflows, meaning more buying than selling. Now, when we look at the short shares available on the stock, this is where it gets interesting. According to Fintel, there is a measly 3,000 shares available to short recorded on the 26th of May. The high short borrow fee rate of 7.6% clearly reflects this. When I piece this together, the stock is heavily shorted, so much so that I think a squeeze is almost a certainty at some point with any positive data release surrounding INO 4800 and its pending phase 3 trials. I'm starting to load my boat with more shares.
You're gonna need a bigger boat.
To summarize, Inovio is on mega sale. There are so many catalysts, I feel, that will come and materialize within this year that I see the stock squeezing up big but consolidating strongly. It really depends on the global phase 3 Inovio are planning for INO 4800. I doubt, even if VGX 3100 becomes their first ever commercialized product ahead of INO 4800, that the stock would move up anywhere near to what INO 4800 could bring. This year, Dr. Kim has a chance to redeem himself.
Just when I think you couldn't possibly be any dumber, you go and do something like this and totally redeem yourself.
As some may say, but for me, I still truly believe that dark forces are holding Inovio back, whether it be with news or action. But once the world has INO 4800,
which has tremendous
amounts, tremendous ridges and mountains, tremendous minerals, tremendous tax, tremendously powerful weapons,
temperature stability advantage over other vaccine platforms. You know, INO 4800 never has to be frozen any time in transportation and storage. We have 1 year room temperature stability, 3 to 5 years projected at normal refrigeration temperature. So it's, you know, if you thought about a appropriately positioned global vaccine for COVID, you know, INO 4800 should be on the top of that.
I believe the floodgates will be open, and it won't be long before Inovio investors like us get fully rewarded by a Novavax-esque stock price.
To the moon, diamond something!
Thank you for watching, and remember, I am extremely bullish on Inovio stock moving forwards, so please do take this video with precaution. If you are interested in WPG stocks that I have in my Freedom portfolio, please check out my other videos. If you enjoyed part 1 to 4, then please stay tuned for part 5, where I'll share with you my final highest conviction stock right now. So please consider, just consider subscribing to my channel so you get the information first. I am the Simple Trader, and I try to keep this simple, and will simply see you next time.